Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Thelma Okoro. Members of advocacy group Bring Back Our Girls today marched to the presidential villa in Abuja. Leader of the group, Obi Ezekwesili, led the movement calling for the immediate release of the Chibok girls. She says President Muhammad Buhari's recent comment expressing his willingness to negotiate with terror sect Boko Haram is not sufficient. In a recent video clip, the insurgents had demanded that their members held in detention by the federal government be swapped for the abducted girls. In April 2014, Boko Haram abducted 276 schoolgirls from a school in Chibok, Borno State, northeast Nigeria. Till date, most of the girls are yet to be found. The Nigerian Air Force says it has destroyed a new Boko Haram terrorist camp located in Borno State, northeast Nigeria. The Air Force, in a statement signed by its spokesperson, Group Captain Ayodele Famuyiwa, said the attack was carried out after surveillance intelligence report showed survivors of an attack on August 20th converging at a new location. The new raid follows the previous attack on a Boko Haram camp, which, according to the military, fatally injured the disputed leader of the sect, Abubakar Shekau. According to the Air Force, the aim of the new attack is to clear the remnants of the sect, which is still located around Malam Fatori and Kangawa in Borno State. Nigeria has been battling Islamic sect Boko Haram for about 7 years now. However, in the past few months, the military has succeeded in beating back the Islamic sect. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, is partnering with One Campaign, an international civil society group co-founded by Bono, the lead singer of rock group U2. Their aim is to help address the humanitarian crisis in the northeast part of Nigeria, where the Boko Haram insurgency has displaced millions of people. The partnership between the Dangote Foundation and One Campaign will also help to call for more attention to be given to Nigeria's health sector. Both Dangote and Bono announced a partnership in Abuja, with Africa's richest man saying that he would be joining the board of One Campaign and that the partnership would focus on the most marginalized citizens, particularly girls and women. Dangote says in cases like these ones, women and children face the brunt of poverty. The Irish singer says there is an urgent need to tackle the challenges in the country's healthcare system and invest in the education and employment of the Nigerian youths.
We are not just going to sit and wait for people to send money to us. No, it's a partnership really, and that's what we are looking for. We are looking for partnership. On our own too, domestically, locally, we are doing quite a lot. In terms of our own foundation, we are spending quite a lot of money, not only in Borno, in Adamawa, in Yobe. I mean, in total, in the 3 states, we have actually spent over 4.5 billion naira, and we'll continue to spend until the end of the, problem, or maybe a solution is found, and when there's a big push, by, One Campaign, because I'm sure some of you are not really very aware of what One Campaign could do. I mean, they were also part of this debt cancellation. I mean, if you remember here in Nigeria, when we had the debt cancellation, it was like a miracle. None of us believed ever our debt was going to be forgiven, because we had over $30 billion cash in our accounts. Normally, when you have cash, or if you have possibility of having money, there's no bank that will wipe off your debt. They will wait for you to pay, so that it will be a lesson for you for the next day.
We do our best to up the scale of resources deployed in the region. We know there's 50,000 kids going to die before the end of the year according to the UN, if they don't receive, I think they're looking for 300. We've only got $100 million in response so far. It turns out the 300 figure is too low. In fact, UNICEF will use up most of the 300. So already the resources are just only a fraction of what they need to be. So that's where a group like One comes in handy, because we're in 8 capitals, because we're over the world, we can actually mobilize. There's a There's a conference in New York at the United Nations General Assembly. We will be advocating for that. And not just for that, stuff like the way that UNHCR are funded. It's madness. They have an annual funding errand where they have to go and with their cap in hand and sort of beg for resources for what's happening this year. Who could plan like that? I mean, it's just impossible to plan like that. It should be at least, you know, a 3-year funding. And so we need to do better by these agencies are really doing heroic work.
Nigerian government to fund the Basic Healthcare Act, which is part of the National Healthcare Act. And this is to be funded with 1% of the Consolidated Revenue Fund. This is important for Nigeria because it means ordinary Nigerian citizens up and down the country will have access to basic medicines and treatment in primary healthcare units. So the act as we pass the enabling legislation is there, but the funding needs to be put in place. And we're calling on our members and supporters across the country to sign the petition, talk to the elected representatives, and put pressure so that this funding is put in place, because this can help save the lives of millions of people across Nigeria.
The Borno state government says plans are currently on the way to relocate internally displaced persons from Konduga, Dikwa and Mafa local government areas. The State Commissioner for Reconstruction and Rehabilitation, Babangana Umara, made a disclosure during a meeting with the Nigerian Army in Maiduguri, northeast Nigeria. According to him, the action followed the directives of Governor Kashim Shettima after peace was restored to most parts of the areas under the control of Boko Haram terrorists. A new militant group known as the Niger Delta Greenland Justice Mandate says they have blown up a pipeline belonging to the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company in Delta State, southern Nigeria. The group in a statement said it attacked a pipeline in Delta State operated by MPDC and Nigerian Energy Company Shoreline on Tuesday. Recurring attacks on oil and gas facilities by militants in the Niger Delta region has cut the country's crude oil production for several weeks now. The attacks have also slashed output at a time when Nigeria is grappling with low global crude oil prices, which have hammered government revenues, weakening the naira currency and pushing up inflation to near 11-year highs. The MPDC is, however, yet to comment on the recent attack. Meanwhile, another militant group, the Niger Delta Avengers, say it has stopped attacks on pipeline installations in Niger's restive Niger Delta region. The Avengers in a statement said they had listened to pleas and halted hostilities in the Niger Delta. However, it added that it expects a genuine and positive attitude to restructuring and self-determination for every component unit of Nigeria. The group, which has claimed responsibility for several attacks on oil facilities in the Niger Delta, also asked President Muhammad Buhari to withdraw the military presence in the region. It alleges that the ongoing military operations were predetermined genocide in the Niger Delta. The Avengers recently agreed to a ceasefire and a dialogue with the Nigerian government. Officials of emergency agencies in Nigeria on Tuesday continued rescue efforts at the site of a building collapse in Abuja, the nation's capital. A 4-story building had collapsed in Gwarimpa Estate, Abuja, in the early hours of Monday morning. At least 2 laborers are still trapped in the building, which is basically still under construction. They have been under the rubble for over 13 hours now. 6 people were rescued from the rubble on Monday.
FHA should not take the law into their hands and then decide to give building approval. They don't have the professionals to control the buildings and to supervise it. They are supposed to bring their drawings to FCDA Development Control for proper vetting, enforcement and supervision. But unfortunately, we're running a running battle with FHA. FHA wants to be autonomous. FHA has decided to take the law into their hands, and they gave this approval. This is a flood place, and if they have come to us with their layout, we wouldn't have allowed any building in this place because it's a flood trend. From the information we got from them, I spoke to the MD myself, The MD said that they gave this developer approval to build a car park and one suspended floor. Unfortunately, the developer decided to build up to 4-story building. At the point of building the 4-story building, he violated by using substandard materials. So they had the cause to give him stop work notice, but at each time he remedies it. And I asked him what type of remedy if such a thing will happen. If you have given him stop work notice, why didn't you inform development control? Why didn't you invite development control? Government work is a synergy. Why did you refuse to foster that synergy? Because you don't have the capacity to stop him. We have the capacity to stop him because we are the people that have the statutory right to control development.
We were able to rescue 6 people from the building, and we are still searching for the remaining 2 at the moment. And we rescued the 6 alive. We've been here since last night, and so we've been making efforts. You know, it's not something that we can just go deep into it. We have to be careful because we're trying to rescue those people alive. So that's why we are taking sequence.
Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed has said Nigeria will partner with the Republic of South of Sudan on creative cultural business and digital economy. Mohammed stated this on Tuesday when he received the ambassador of Sudan to Nigeria, Ibrahim Bushira Ali, in his office in Abuja. The minister said it was high time the federal government of Nigeria and the Republic of the Sudan changed the concept of economic cooperation and stop restricting economic cooperation to just buying of oil or selling of machineries.
I think it's about time that we change the concept of economic cooperation and we stop restricting economic cooperation to just buying of oil or selling of machineries. We should look today at a broader interpretation and meaning of economic cooperation. And I'm talking here about cultural and creative industry. And you see, the beauty of this cultural exchange and trying to look at the economy, you know, from the viewpoint of, culture and creativity, is that it helps in the employment of youth, because the majority of the talents we're talking about is youth. It also helps our women to become much more employed than before. So I would very much welcome cultural exchanges between Sudan and Nigeria, not just as a symbol of the friendship between the two countries, but as a basis for economic development for both countries. I'm sure that the film industry in Sudan would have learned a lot to learn from our film industry, especially in Kannywood, because of the similarity of cultures.
We all know also the big number of the Sudanese of Nigerian origin currently now live in Sudan, more than 5 million. So I always say in my meetings that what connects the Sudanese and the Nigerian peoples is blood relationship. Yes, it is true that we may be far as distance is concerned. We are not neighbors, but we are strongly, connected and linked by the kinship and blood relationship. And there are many, Sudanese of Nigerian origins now in Sudan. They are Sudanese. They are in every corner. They are ministers. They are governors. They are businessmen. They are everything. And they are contributing with their brothers in Sudan in building Sudan now. But let me say, Excellency, despite this very old relationship, economically this relationship has to be, revitalized. We have to put some emphasis on the economic cooperation because until now, we don't see tangible, you see, results in the economic arena as far as economic cooperation is concerned. As far as cultural cooperation is concerned, I think it is excellent because we have thousands now of Nigerian boys and girls who are studying in Sudan, in the Sudanese universities. They are very happy, and we are ready, you see, to offer more excellency in this field in the context of the excellent relations between the two countries.
Civil society organizations staged a peaceful protest in Lagos, Niger Southwest region. More than 32 of these groups marched to the zonal office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. They are demanding the prosecution of those involved in the budget padding scandal raging on in the Nigerian House of Representatives. According to the groups, members of the National Assembly have continued with business as usual in the face of the padding scandal and despite the anti-corruption stand of the current administration.
Today, we have come as registered members of registered organizations to present formally a written petition calling on the Economic and Financial Commission, EFCC, to sweep into action and investigate, and when found guilty, prosecute everybody that may have been involved in the stealing of our Commonwealth through the padding of that 2016 budget. I present this petition on behalf of over 30 civil society organizations, on behalf of taxpayers that have no voice, to you, to please take action. Please take action on this because Nigerian people are suffering. These few people cannot continue to retrogress this nation. Thank you very much, sir.
Of pardon in the National Assembly, which some allegations have been raised against the Speaker and some other persons, we are already received a petition from some other members of the public, and the investigation is being done in Abuja. When petitions are received, we look at them, make some analysis, commence investigation. We do what we call preliminary investigation without inviting the accused person first. We carry out some investigations, gather some facts to ascertain the truthfulness of that petition. Where we find them indicted, then we go into inviting the accused persons. So what we are doing at present, since we have already received some of the petitions, our men, our officers are already on ground, carrying out very thorough investigation.
Nigeria's Ministry of Education has unveiled a roadmap to promote quality education in the country. The plan, called Education for Change, was unveiled in Abuja on Monday this week. Presenting his keynote address, the Minister of Education, Adamu, condemned the deplorable state of the education sector in the country. The Minister of State for Education, Anthony Anwuka, also says Nigeria needs to embrace an all-inclusive approach to strengthen the education sector.
We are no doubt all aware that the challenges confronting the education sector, while the world is producing knowledge professionals, as I tell you, we are grappling with students out of school at the primary, secondary, and at the tertiary level. We are only able to admit 17 to 18% of students who qualify. You must also accept that our situation is very, very critical today. There are acute shortages of infrastructure and facilities in most public schools, or almost all public schools. Teachers are poorly motivated. Many of them are not qualified to deliver quality education. The environment continues to deteriorate. It is below expectations in many places, and employers of labor demand substantial improvement in the quality of our products. With high level of youth unemployment and global technological advancement, we certainly need to do a lot of prioritizing in the areas of technical and vocational education and training so that we can catch up and our youth will have the requisite skills for the world of work.
For Nigeria to meet the targets of the SDG 4, the education sector needs to strengthen our educational system. Our dilapidated schools must be provided with befitting infrastructure to become learner-friendly for all learners, including girls, the vulnerable, and those with special needs. We must recruit new and retrain existing teachers for quality education delivery. Every child, girl or boy, must not only enroll in school, but must complete the full cycle of basic education and must be seen to learn. Our tertiary education must be citadels of learning that foster innovation to meet the needs of the workforce, strengthen research capabilities, and advance knowledge by increasing higher education opportunities for our young people. We recognize that the task of revamping the education sector is challenging, but certainly not daunting. However, the ministry cannot do it alone. Our task is to coordinate national efforts to meet our national goals and objectives. It is our firm belief that with good planning, appropriate investment of resources, effective collaboration and coordination of inputs and activities of government, and all stakeholders who will realize our target of providing quality education to build and sustain adequate human capital for national development.
Meanwhile, the two education ministers have denied reports of a rift between them. The Minister of State for Education emphasized that the much talked about rift between he and his boss is nothing but a well-concocted media hype. Our correspondent has that story.
The teacher education, as she said, is dying, and I believe it is dying simply because, as the Minister of State, Niger Delta Affairs said, you cannot go to court now to argue a case on behalf of a client because they will take you probably to jail. But if you take chalk, you can enter any class and teach when you don't have any requisite qualification for teaching. Therefore, I think the professionalization of teachers and registration of teachers will help in making sure that the profession is recognized and then quacks are kicked out. So nobody should be employed as a teacher who does not have teaching qualification. And teaching qualification here means you have undergone a course of philosophy of education, the method of teaching. As we said, the TRCN has already started applying that rule. There is no magic. If you are not qualified as a teacher, you don't teach, and it can be enforced.
We'll take a quick break. When we'll come back, we'll look at more top stories. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello, Alahaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello, Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you are raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. The Nigerian police force has slammed public comments linking President Muhammad Buhari with the ongoing saga over a dog named Buhari in Ogun State. A 40-year-old trader known as Joe Chinakwe was recently arrested and arraigned in court for naming his dog Buhari. He has since been granted bail by the police force. Now, in a statement by the Zonal Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Adejobi, the police said the matter was grossly misconstrued, explaining that the president has nothing to do with it as it was erroneously perceived. The police said Chinakwe was not arraigned for naming the dog Buhari, but for inscribing the name on both sides of the dog and parading it around an area of Sango Ata, where most of the residents were from the north. The police said his behavior was capable of causing a breach of the peace. The Board of Trustees of the opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP) has asked the Ahmed McCarthy-led caretaker committee to form a new planning committee to hold next month's convention in Abuja. The previous national convention of the party was held in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and the planning committee was headed by the governor of the state, Nyesom Wike. That convention was, however, without any controversy. The venue of the party's national convention in Port Harcourt was sealed off by the Nigerian police force. This came after Justice Okonabang of the Federal High Court ordered the McCarthy-led faction to call off the party's national convention. The BOT said it would facilitate the raising of adequate funds for the party, while also calling on all PDP governors to continue pursuing positive programs of good governance. Moving on to business stories now, China Railway Construction Corporation says it has won a $1.851 billion contract to construct the Kano City Light Rail. In an announcement, the company said its directors had received a provisional letter of award from Nigeria. The rail, with a total length of 74.3 kilometers, is expected to travel at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. The first phase of the project construction is built to take place in 2 years' time, while the second phase of the four-line rail is expected to take another 2 years to be completed. Nigeria's central bank sold around $1.5 million at the interbank forex market on Tuesday to support the local currency and ensure the closing rate stabilizes. The naira closed at 305 to the dollar on the interbank market, same level it has traded since last week, having touched 325 a dollar in intraday, but gained after the CBN's intervention. Traders say dollar shortage remains a major concern in the market, even with the daily intervention by the CBN and a pocket of flows from offshore investors. Despite the huge sales of dollar by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the portion of the foreign reserves fell to $19.44 billion. The non-oil exports also fell by over 43% in the second quarter of 2016. The development was attributed mainly to the significant decline in receipts from manufactured and food products as well as mineral exports. Oil futures edged up on Tuesday. This comes amid doubts that crude producers would agree next month to an output freeze, which continues to drag on oil prices. Brent crude futures were trading at $49.28 per barrel, while U.S. crude was up 9 cents at $47.07 per barrel. Saudi Arabia's Energy Minister Khalid Al-Falih last week said he doesn't believe an intervention in oil markets is necessary since the market is moving in the right direction. At least 10 people, including soldiers and civilians, were killed in Somalia's capital of Mogadishu on Tuesday. A car bomb claimed by Al-Shabaab exploded outside the presidential palace and also damaged 2 nearby hotels. The country's information minister, Mohammed Abdi Hayr, told state radio that a meeting of security officials was underway inside one of the hotels at the time of the blast. According to officials, one minister and some state radio journalists were injured in the attack. The hotel is visited mostly by government officials, and police say they believe the facility was the likely target. Some 6,500 migrants were saved off the Libyan coast in 40 separate rescue missions on Monday. The Italian Coast Guard said the migrants were packed on board scores of boats, mainly flimsy rubber dinghies that become dangerously unstable in high seas. Most of them are believed to have come from Africa. Italy has been on the front of Europe's migrant crisis for over 3 years now. More than 400,000 people have successfully made the voyage to Italy from North Africa since the beginning of 2014 while trying to flee violence and poverty. The Nigerian Football Federation says problems with the country's treasury single account is the reason behind its failure to pay former Dream Team coach Samson Siasia. Speaking during a meeting with Siasia and Sports Minister Solomon Dalong, the NFF said that the body had the money to pay the coach, but it was stuck in the TSA. He, however, assured that the coach would soon receive his outstanding allowances. Now, TSA is a financial policy operated in Nigeria, which kicked off on September 15, 2015. The policy is meant to merge funds from all ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria. 2 Kenyan Olympic officials have been granted bail after appearing in court for alleged mismanagement of the national team at the Rio Olympic Games. Francis Paul, the Secretary General of the National Olympics Committee of Kenya, and Pius Ochieng, who is the Vice Chairman, and a third man identified as Stephen Soy, are being investigated for theft, abuse of office, and neglect of duty. The officials are blamed for a series of problems facing Kenya athletes at the just concluded Rio Olympic Games. They have all denied the allegations. England captain Wayne Rooney says he will retire from the national team after the 2018 World Cup in Russia. The Manchester United forward, who was appointed England captain in 2012, says he feels 2018 is the best time for him to retire from the Three Lions. He will be 32 years old after the World Cup in 2018. Rooney made his debut in England during a friendly against Australia in 2003. In March 2016, he broke the England goal-scoring record with a penalty against Switzerland, helping him to become the first English player to score 50 goals in the national team. He surpasses the great Bobby Charlton, who scored 49 goals in 106 appearances. Wayne Rooney's record stands on 53 goals in 115 appearances. Well, that's all we have on news now. We thank you very much for watching. I am Thelma Okoro.